If you've ever had an encounter with a covert narcissist, then you know how confusing and frustrating it can be. On the surface, they seem humble, kind, even vulnerable, but underneath lies a darker, more insidious nature that manipulates and distorts everything in their path. Today, we're diving into the shadowy world of covert narcissism, where every action they take, every tactic they employ, inevitably leads to self-sabotage. The tricky part? They often don't even realize that their behavior is setting them up for failure. But once you begin to see the patterns, it becomes clear their actions aren't just toxic to those around them, but ultimately, they boomerang right back to haunt them. So buckle up, because by the end of this discussion, you'll see just how every move a covert narcissist makes is destined to backfire, and why they can't seem to escape the cycle. Before we start, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video if you find it insightful, and share it with anyone who's been affected by a narcissist. Let's spread awareness, because the more people understand this manipulative behavior, the easier it becomes to protect ourselves and others. Ready? Let's dive into the world of covert narcissism. Covert narcissists are masters of subtle manipulation. Unlike the overt narcissist, who is brash, loud, and always seeking the spotlight, the covert narcissist prefers to play the victim, pulling strings from the shadows. They may present themselves as the kind, soft-spoken person who always seems to be wronged by others. But make no mistake, this persona is carefully crafted. It allows them to avoid responsibility while simultaneously garnering sympathy and attention. However, as crafty as their tactics may seem, there's a flaw in the design. The very behaviors they use to manipulate others end up isolating them and eroding their relationships. Let's break down how this happens. A covert narcissist thrives on being seen as misunderstood or unappreciated. They carefully cultivate an image of being the victim in almost every situation. Perhaps they'll tell a story about how their boss overlooked them for a promotion, or how their friend betrayed them. It's always someone else's fault. The goal? To garner sympathy and validation. Yet, the very act of constantly playing the victim backfires. Over time, those around them start to see through the charade. People get tired of the endless complaints and the emotional drain that comes with being around someone who is never accountable for their actions. Slowly but surely, the covert narcissist begins to alienate even those closest to them. Another tactic in the covert narcissist's playbook is the use of passive aggression. They might make subtle digs disguised as jokes or backhanded compliments. You know, the kind comments like, "Oh, you're going to wear that?" Or, "It must be nice to have so much free time." These remarks are intended to undermine others while allowing the narcissist to maintain a facade of innocence. But here's where it backfires. The people around them begin to sense the hostility lurking beneath the surface. They might not call it out immediately, but these little slights add up, slowly building resentment. Over time, the covert narcissist's attempts to make others feel inferior or insecure push people away. Instead of gaining control, they lose the trust and respect of those around them. What's particularly ironic is that covert narcissists often believe they are smarter or more insightful than those around them. They think they can manipulate and deceive others without being detected. In reality, most people are far more perceptive than the covert narcissist gives them credit for. Those who interact with a covert narcissist regularly begin to pick up on the patterns, the inconsistencies in their stories, the self-pity, the passive-aggressive comments. Once someone begins to see through the facade, the narcissist loses their power over them. They might try to reassert control, but by then the damage is done. Their manipulation has backfired, and they are left with a growing sense of frustration as their social circle shrinks. Another common tactic covert narcissists use is gaslighting. This is when they try to make others doubt their perception of reality. For example, if you confront a covert narcissist about something hurtful they said, they might respond with, "You're being too sensitive," or "I never said that." The goal is to make you question your memory or emotions, thereby giving the narcissist the upper hand. But here's the thing, gaslighting often backfires in the long run. While it may initially confuse and disorient the victim, over time, people begin to recognize the pattern of manipulation. They start to trust their own perceptions again, and once they do, the narcissist's hold over them diminishes. Covert narcissists also have a tendency to isolate themselves, though this isn't always intentional. In their quest to maintain control and avoid criticism, they push people away. They might cut off relationships with those who see through their manipulation, or they may become so insufferable that others choose to distance themselves. Either way, the result is the same: isolation. And while the covert narcissist might initially feel justified in their isolation, believing that others simply don't understand them, this too backfires. Human beings are social creatures. We need connection, support, and love to thrive. By isolating themselves, covert narcissists end up creating a prison of their own making. They are left with the very loneliness and emptiness they sought to avoid. Perhaps one of the most tragic ways in which covert narcissists sabotage themselves is through their inability to engage in genuine relationships. Because they are always playing a role, whether it's the victim, the martyr, or the misunderstood genius, they never allow themselves to be truly vulnerable. They cannot experience authentic connection because they are too busy trying to manipulate others. This is where their actions truly backfire. While they might succeed in gaining temporary control or validation, they never experience the deep, fulfilling relationships that come from being open, honest, and vulnerable. And deep down, this is what they crave. But their own behavior prevents them from achieving it. It's also worth noting that covert narcissists often engage in a cycle of self-pity and resentment. They feel misunderstood and unappreciated, which leads to feelings of resentment towards others. This resentment, in turn, fuels more manipulative and passive-aggressive behavior, which further isolates them. It's a vicious cycle, and the more they try to control it, the more it spirals out of control. In the end, their actions only lead to more loneliness, more resentment, and more frustration. The very behaviors they use to protect themselves from criticism or rejection are the same behaviors that ensure they will be criticized and rejected. The covert narcissist's relationship with criticism is another area where their actions backfire. Covert narcissists are hypersensitive to criticism. Even the slightest hint of disapproval can send them into a tailspin. But rather than addressing the criticism head-on or reflecting on it, they often respond with defensiveness, denial, or by playing the victim. They might lash out at the person giving the feedback, accuse them of being unfair, or try to turn the tables by highlighting the other person's flaws. While this might provide temporary relief, it ultimately backfires. When someone consistently refuses to accept responsibility or engage in constructive self-reflection, they stunt their own growth. The covert narcissist's refusal to accept criticism means they never learn from their mistakes, and so they are doomed to repeat them over and over again. In many cases, covert narcissists also sabotage their professional lives. They may appear competent and hardworking on the surface, but their need for validation and their inability to accept criticism can hold them back. For example, they might become resentful when they don't receive the praise or recognition they believe they deserve. This resentment can lead to passive-aggressive behavior in the workplace. Perhaps they stop contributing to team efforts or begin to subtly undermine their colleagues. Over time, their colleagues and supervisors begin to notice this behavior, and it starts to affect their professional reputation. Once again, the narcissist's actions backfire. Instead of being seen as competent and valuable, they are viewed as difficult and unreliable. Perhaps the most devastating backfire of all is the covert narcissist's inability to experience genuine happiness or fulfillment. They may spend their entire lives seeking validation, manipulating others, and avoiding responsibility. But in the end, they are left with nothing but a hollow sense of accomplishment. The relationships they've destroyed, the opportunities they've squandered, and the isolation they've created for themselves all come back to haunt them. While they may succeed in manipulating others for a time, they never achieve the deep, lasting happiness that comes from living authentically and connecting with others on a genuine level. So, if you've ever dealt with a covert narcissist, take comfort in knowing this. While their behavior may be confusing and hurtful in the moment, their actions will ultimately backfire. Whether it's in their personal relationships, their professional lives, or their own sense of well-being, the covert narcissist's attempts to control and manipulate others will only lead to their own downfall. And while they may never fully understand why their tactics aren't working, the truth is clear. They are trapped in a cycle of self-sabotage that they cannot escape. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the world of covert narcissism. If you found this video helpful, Don't forget to hit the like button. Share it with anyone who could benefit from this insight, and subscribe to stay informed about the latest on narcissism and toxic behavior. Together, we can spread awareness and help others recognize and protect themselves from the damaging effects of narcissistic manipulation. Until next time, take care and stay mindful.
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to discuss a very important and often hidden aspect of our lives: how a narcissist behaves when they start losing control over you. They can employ various manipulative tricks to regain their power, and it's crucial for us to recognize and counter these tactics. So, let's dive deeper and understand what's really going on. Narcissists thrive on control and manipulation. Their sense of self-worth is often heavily dependent on the ability to dominate and manipulate those around them. When a narcissist begins to lose control over their victim, they will resort to various tactics to regain their influence. Understanding these tactics is crucial in protecting oneself from further manipulation and emotional harm. The initial stages of control. At the beginning of a relationship, a narcissist often employs a tactic known as love bombing. This involves showering the victim with excessive attention, flattery, and affection. The goal is to create an intense emotional bond, making the victim dependent on the narcissist for validation and self-worth. During this phase, the narcissist establishes a strong hold over the victim's emotions and perceptions. Signs of losing control. As the relationship progresses, the victim may start to recognize the narcissist's manipulative behaviors and begin to pull away. This can trigger a fear of losing control in the narcissist, leading them to resort to more desperate and insidious tactics. Some signs that a narcissist is losing control include increased criticism and devaluation. The narcissist may start to criticize the victim more frequently and harshly, aiming to undermine their self-esteem and create self-doubt. Gaslighting. This psychological manipulation involves making the victim question their own reality, memories, and sanity. The narcissist will deny past events, twist the truth, and accuse the victim of being overly sensitive or paranoid. Triangulation. The narcissist may involve a third party to create jealousy and competition. This could be an ex-partner, a friend, or even a new romantic interest. The goal is to make the victim feel insecure and fight for the narcissist's attention and approval. The desperate trick, smear campaign. When the aforementioned tactics fail, and the narcissist feels they are losing their grip, they often resort to a smear campaign. This involves spreading false information, rumors, and lies about the victim to mutual acquaintances, friends, family, or colleagues. The purpose of a smear campaign is twofold. Isolate the victim. By damaging the victim's reputation, the narcissist aims to isolate them from their support network. This isolation makes it harder for the victim to seek help and reinforces their dependency on the narcissist. Protect their own image. Narcissists are deeply concerned with maintaining a favorable public image. By discrediting the victim, they deflect attention from their own abusive behavior and present themselves as the wronged party. Defending against a smear campaign. Document everything. Keep a detailed record of interactions, incidents, and communications with the narcissist. This documentation can serve as evidence if needed. Seek support. Reach out to trusted friends, family members, or a therapist. A strong support network can provide validation and perspective, helping to counteract the narcissist's lies. Set boundaries. Clearly communicate and enforce boundaries with the narcissist. Limit contact as much as possible and avoid engaging in arguments or confrontations. Stay calm and composed. Narcissists thrive on emotional reactions. Maintaining a calm and composed demeanor can frustrate their attempts to provoke you and weaken their manipulative efforts. Understanding narcissistic behavior. To fully grasp the depth of a narcissist's manipulation, it's essential to understand the core of narcissistic behavior. Narcissistic personality disorder (NPD) is a complex mental condition characterized by grandiosity, an inflated sense of self-importance, and a deep need for excessive attention and admiration. Narcissists believe they are superior to others and often exaggerate their achievements and talents. Lack of empathy. Narcissists struggle to recognize or care about the feelings and needs of others. This lack of empathy makes it easier for them to manipulate and exploit people without guilt or remorse. Manipulative behavior. They use manipulation as a primary tool to control and dominate others. This can include lying, gaslighting, and employing various tactics to maintain their sense of superiority and control. Fragile self-esteem. Despite their outward confidence, narcissists often have fragile self-esteem. They are highly sensitive to criticism and perceived slights, which can trigger defensive and aggressive behaviors. The narcissist's playbook. Manipulation tactics. Narcissists employ a range of manipulation tactics to maintain control over their victims. These tactics are often subtle and insidious, making them difficult to recognize until significant damage has been done. Some common manipulation tactics include love bombing. As mentioned earlier, this involves overwhelming the victim with affection, attention, and gifts to create an intense emotional bond. The goal is to make the victim dependent on the narcissist for validation and self-worth. Devaluation. Once the narcissist feels secure in the relationship, they may start to devalue the victim. This can include criticism, belittling comments, and undermining the victim's confidence. The goal is to make the victim feel unworthy and dependent on the narcissist's approval. Gaslighting. This psychological manipulation involves making the victim question their own reality, memories, and sanity. The narcissist will deny past events, twist the truth, and accuse the victim of being overly sensitive or paranoid. Gaslighting can be incredibly damaging to the victim's mental health and self-esteem. Triangulation. The narcissist may involve a third party to create jealousy and competition. This could be an ex-partner, a friend, or even a new romantic interest. The goal is to make the victim feel insecure and fight for the narcissist's attention and approval. Projection. Narcissists often project their own negative traits and behaviors onto others. For example, they may accuse the victim of being manipulative, dishonest, or selfish, when in fact, these are qualities the narcissist possesses. Blame shifting. When confronted with their behavior, narcissists will often shift the blame onto the victim or others. This deflection allows them to avoid taking responsibility for their actions and maintain their sense of superiority. Silent treatment. The narcissist may use the silent treatment as a form of punishment and control. By withdrawing communication and affection, they create a sense of anxiety and insecurity in the victim, who becomes desperate to regain the narcissist's approval. The impact of narcissistic abuse. The effects of narcissistic abuse can be profound and long-lasting. Victims often experience a range of emotional and psychological symptoms, including low self-esteem. Continuous criticism and devaluation can erode the victim's self-confidence and self-worth. Victims may feel unworthy, inadequate, and dependent on the narcissist's approval. Anxiety and depression. The constant manipulation, gaslighting, and emotional abuse can lead to chronic anxiety and depression. Victims may feel trapped, hopeless, and overwhelmed by their circumstances. PTSD and CPTSD. Prolonged exposure to narcissistic abuse can result in post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, or complex PTSD/CPTSD. Symptoms can include flashbacks, hypervigilance, emotional numbness, and difficulty trusting others. Isolation. Narcissists often isolate their victims from friends, family, and support networks. This isolation makes it harder for the victim to seek help and reinforces their dependency on the narcissist. Physical health issues. The stress and anxiety caused by narcissistic abuse can take a toll on the victim's physical health. Symptoms can include headaches, digestive issues, sleep disturbances, and a weakened immune system. Breaking free from narcissistic control. Escaping a relationship with a narcissist can be challenging, but it is possible with the right support and strategies. Here are some steps to help break free from narcissistic control. Recognize the signs. Awareness is the first step to breaking free from narcissistic abuse. Educate yourself about narcissistic behavior and manipulation tactics. Understanding the signs can help you identify and respond to the narcissist's actions. Seek support. Reach out to trusted friends, family members, or a therapist. A strong support network can provide validation, perspective, and encouragement. Support groups for victims of narcissistic abuse can also be helpful. Set boundaries. Clearly communicate and enforce boundaries with the narcissist. This may include limiting contact, avoiding engaging in arguments, and refusing to tolerate abusive behavior. Boundaries are essential for protecting your emotional and mental well-being. Document everything. Keep a detailed record of interactions, incidents, and communications with the narcissist. This documentation can serve as evidence if needed and help you stay grounded in reality. Develop a safety plan. If you are in an abusive relationship, develop a safety plan to protect yourself. This may include finding a safe place to stay, securing important documents, and having a trusted person to contact in case of an emergency. Focus on self-care. Prioritize your physical and emotional well-being. Engage in activities that bring you joy and relaxation. Practice self-compassion and remind yourself that you deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. Consider professional help. Therapy can be incredibly beneficial for healing from narcissistic abuse. A therapist can help you process your experiences, develop coping strategies, and rebuild your self-esteem. Moving forward, healing and recovery. Healing from narcissistic abuse is a journey that takes time and effort. Here are some steps to aid in the recovery process. Acknowledge your experience. Recognize and validate your feelings and experiences. Allow yourself to grieve the loss of the relationship and the person you thought the narcissist was. Rebuild your identity. Narcissistic abuse can erode your sense of self. Take time to rediscover your interests, passions, and strengths. Surround yourself with positive influences and supportive people. Establish healthy boundaries. As you move forward, it's important to establish and maintain healthy boundaries in all your relationships. Boundaries protect your well-being and prevent future manipulation. Practice self-compassion. Be kind and gentle with yourself. Healing from narcissistic abuse is challenging, and it's okay to have setbacks. Celebrate your progress and remind yourself that you deserve love and respect. Educate yourself. Continue to learn about narcissistic behavior and recovery. Knowledge is empowering and can help you recognize and avoid toxic relationships in the future. Focus on personal growth. Use your experience as an opportunity for personal growth and self-improvement. Set goals for yourself, pursue your passions, and work towards becoming the best version of yourself. Consider therapy. Ongoing therapy can be beneficial for long-term healing. A therapist can provide support, guidance, and tools to help you navigate the complexities of recovery. Understanding the tactics a narcissist uses when losing control can empower victims to protect themselves and break free from the cycle of manipulation. Recognizing the signs and knowing how to respond can significantly reduce the narcissist's power and help victims regain their autonomy and self-worth. By staying informed, seeking support, and focusing on healing, individuals can overcome the challenges posed by narcissistic abuse and move towards a healthier, more balanced life. Remember, breaking free from a narcissist is a courageous and empowering step. You deserve to live a life free from manipulation, control, and abuse. With the right support and strategies, you can reclaim your power, rebuild your self-esteem, and create a brighter future. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. I hope the information I shared